got 1:02 on my clock. We will call the meeting to order. And then Jim, I think you'll do a roll call of the agencies.
Yep, I'll do a roll call of agencies. I'd like to, whoever the voting member of record for today's meeting is, if you could please identify yourself. For the CNYRPDB.
David Botar, Director of the agency.
CNYRTA.
EJ Moses, representing Brian Schultz.
Okay. City of Syracuse Common Council. I don't believe anyone's on yet. Okay. Office of the Mayor. Corey
Dunham, I'm here.
Our chair. Empire State Development. I don't think I saw them join yet.
Yeah,
oh, you're all right. Welcome. Sorry, I missed you. Snuck in.
Not a problem.
Center State CEO. Okay. New York State DEC. Brendan
Cho. Yep.
New York State DOT.
David Smith.
Thruway Authority.
Jaren George.
Welcome, thank you. Onondaga County Executive's Office. So that's you.
Yep.
Onondaga County Legislature. I don't think so. And the County Planning Board. And Kwasnowski? No? Okay. And Syracuse Planning Commission, I think Heather said she could not make it. Okay. That's it. So we can jump in.
Okay. So on the agenda, we also have, well, I'm assuming there aren't any additions or changes to the agenda. So I guess to move to the next item, we have approval for the meeting minutes for the June 23rd meeting. Everybody hopefully had time to review those, and I can look for a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll move it. Botar.
Okay, a second.
Second, Smith.
All right. I'm assuming there's no discussion on the minutes. So in that case, all in favor, am I right, Jim? Say aye.
Yep.
Aye. Any objections? Abstentions? Okay. Motion. Okay. All right, so then let's move on to, next on the agenda is communications and reports, the 2021-22 UPWP status report.
Yep, so this is just updating you on our work activities for the past, up through including the past month, ending in the end of September. So we began the process of planning for our new program year, which means we sent out a call letter for planning projects to all of our member agencies, as well as towns and villages. So everyone on this call should have received one. There was a pre-meeting earlier this month for potential applications, but if you could not attend that meeting and still have a planning project you'd like us to consider for your agency, please let us know. We've had some interest from a couple of towns and villages, but I think I'm going to have room on my program next year for a couple more projects. So please, if you have an idea, if something we can be of use to you, do not be shy in asking us. We also have an upcoming federal certification with Federal Transit and Federal Highway. The hard dates for that are November 30th through December 1st. I just received today a agenda from FHWA on what topics will be on what times during the day. So I will now reach out to the appropriate entities of our member agencies to invite you to participate. It's a virtual meeting. And so certain members will need to participate during certain times. You'll just be able to log on and then log off, and the meeting will continue all day long. It's going to go from November 30th through December 1st. So you'll be hearing from me on that. Additionally, there's going to be a meeting with our planning committee chair and our policy committee chair that is already scheduled. And that'll be in January. Additionally, in January, there'll be a stakeholders meeting and a public meeting, all run by FHWA and FTA jointly as part of our required federal certification. And this is a required element that keeps us as a recognized organization for the federal funds to keep flowing from FHWA and FTA as is required for our planning and our, more importantly, our capital programming that we all use. For public participation, we had an active transportation forum public meeting, which was done virtually back in the end of September. It was a relative success, I think. Those meetings are going pretty well. We're getting pretty good at engaging the public through remote processes, as is everybody else. We're getting a decent level of participation that way. In terms of federal legislation, I'm sure you're aware that the highway bill is running on a current extension scheduled to go out at the end of the month, if memory serves me right. And we're waiting on the new infrastructure bill, which contains in it the new highway bill, which if all goes well, gives us a lot more money for everything that we do and care for around this table. But I do not know what's going to happen down in Washington, DC. So when anything happens of substance, I will let you know. And we'll hopefully have some more money to work with. And otherwise we can run without. It expired for a day. I think there was a brief pause that we did expire before. So if they don't approve it, we hope we at least get an extension so that all the wheels keep turning correctly. No pun intended. Under data collection, we're trying to do some last minute traffic counts now that school is back in session before the snow flies, since the traffic is moving relatively normal now at this stage in the pandemic. So we're way behind on our traffic data gathering because most of 2020 data is pretty much invalid. For GIS, we have some demonstrations we'll have later on the agenda today that demonstrate story mapping and how to make some of our data more accessible to the public and our member agencies. I think that's pretty interesting. For bridge and pavement, our pavement rating data is complete for the year. We're still waiting on access to New York State DOT's data for a number of years now. I heard rumor from Albany that should be forthcoming in the near future, but I will hold my breath on that when it comes. For I-81, the draft EAS was released. Public involvement period has closed. Public comment period is closed. Later on the agenda, Mark Fischel will give us an update on where that stands. SMTC is working on the final stages of wrapping up the Empire State Trail local opportunities plan for SACA in the next couple of weeks. For the long range transportation plan, we have some performance-based planning measures we have to update on later on our agenda today. Additionally, we have to do a long range transportation plan amendment that will allow New York State DOT to program funds for the I-81 project, because our current long range plan does not have a $2 billion project identified in it with what that will be. So that amendment will be forthcoming most likely in January or February of 2022, depending on New York State DOT's schedule, if all goes well. And that'll be followed by a policy committee meeting for that amendment. If we're ready for the TIP amendment at the same time, that meeting will be in person and not virtual, because just given the scope of approving $2 billion. For rail, truck, and transit planning, staff is continuing to work on the required coordinated plan with CNYRTA. FHWA had a call with us, checking in on our freight system, wanting to do make sure that we're adequately addressing our concerns as it results to freight movement. If the conversation went well, I have all indications on our end of this freight movement is going well in our communities. We have not heard anything from our member agencies that freight movement is an issue. If you are hearing that there's an issue with freight movement, please bring it to my or one of my staff's attention so we can make sure we evaluate that and if there's anything we can do to assist in that area. The joint TMC co-location project that is underway for completion this year for the white paper. For the dome traffic management plan, SMTC and Stantec has had numerous public meetings, numerous small group meetings with SU stakeholders to move that project along. They submitted a draft existing condition report that's being reviewed. And very recently, the consultant attended the last home game this past week for SU. I'm assuming for traffic observation, which is what it was for, and not watching the game, but they wanted to get an idea in person of how the traffic patterns currently move under the I-81 condition now so that they can better envision how it'll do in the future. Tuscarora Road study presentation was created and shared on YouTube for the public in the Chittenango area. And additionally, we held a public feedback commentary session where we had it open for an hour or so for communication with members of the village area to have their questions answered. I believe that Q&A session is going to be put on YouTube for people to watch. They were unable to participate. And that should go on. Is that today, Mario?
I think we should be able to get it up today, yes.
All right, thank you. US Route 11 study, it's making considerable progress with concept plans and access management. There's some ideas that are being run by Onondaga County for their concurrence, Onondaga County DOT specifically, since it suggests some modifications to their infrastructure. Our staff is in communication with their staff to move that idea forward. The Manliness Village Center PED study is underway for completion this year. Village of Skinny Atlas pedestrian study should be wrapped up in the next 30 to 60 days. We have a presentation that's going to be launched for viewing on YouTube, and then a open Q&A session, just like we did for Chittenango as well. Our Syracuse sidewalk planning study has been completed for this year. Given the weather, we're done with our data collection. We did get a request from the city to continue that into next year. I'm asking for them to put that in writing as part of our UPWP solicitation. And that'll require me to retain summer staff again next year to continue on the rating and computerized inventory and condition of the city sidewalk system for them to use in their process. Under tip development, a new fiscal year started October 1st. To that end, New York State DOT has some adjustments. So we have 2 tip amendments on today's agenda. And on the bright side here, it looks like we finished last year with obligating 100% of all monies programmed. We'll have some infographics we'll be able to share in the near future with the Smtc Executive Committee and Capital Projects Committee. But that's good news because it means we spent all the money we could spend and didn't leave anything left on the table, which is always our goal. That's where we stand with all the projects. If you have a question on a project I did not give you an update on, please feel free to ask.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions on the status report, concerns, anything? No? Okay. So then next on the agenda is an update on the I-81 viaduct project from New York State DOT.
Mr. Frischette.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Alrighty, great. Good afternoon, everybody. I think many of the people on the phone have participated greatly in the last 5-6 months, but I'm just going to run through what has kind of happened in the last few months and really talk about the next steps. So we had published the DEIS back on July 16th and of this summer. We held the public hearings, both a virtual and a in-person around the middle of August. We followed that up with 9 neighborhood meetings / community meetings in the suburbs throughout August into September. We had made numerous changes to the scope since 2019, and it was a good opportunity for us to talk to the community about some of those changes. Those included adding a new connection between Business Loop 81 heading southbound to I-81 northbound down by Loretto. It included a new northbound Colvin off-ramp, a roundabout at MLK to transition from high-speed vehicles heading northbound to the grid. We had moved the on and off ramps northbound at Court Street over by Destiny to Bear Street to really better connect the Northeast residents to the Inner Harbor and also to Destiny. And then we added significant work at Inner Exit 3 at I-41. That's the interface between Interstate 41 and Route 5 and 92. As we started to engage the community, there was a call from multiple stakeholders to extend the comment period. We went in with what is typically considered the maximum, which is a 60-day, based on the magnitude of the report and also the people wanting to be able to formulate their comments. People asked for additional time. DOT and FHWA agreed to extend that. That was closed, as Jim mentioned, last Thursday. It was October 14th that it was closed. So to date, we have received, we had over 7,500 commentors, which means there's a lot of people who commented, and well over 8,000 comments were received. And because people don't make just one comment, they'll make multiple comments. So Just to give you a comparison, in 2019, which had very similar public outreach with an open house meeting, with a lot of community neighborhood meetings. We met with different stakeholders. We had about 1,200 comments at that point in time. So significantly more comments that we've received. So the process going forward is that DOT needs to respond to each and every comment, take those into consideration, just like we did between the preliminary DEIS and the DEIS that was released this summer. And that gets rolled up into what's called the final environmental impact statement. It will, if you made comments to us, that will be a part of the FEIS and responses to that. Many comments will get lumped together if they're similar, but if they're not, then we'll include those with responses. A lot of people have seen on the PACNY website the city's comments that they put out, and also the Senator May's comments that she had put out and stuff. So you can just see by looking at one of them, the magnitude, the depth, and the breadth of information that's asked for. If you saw SMTCs, it was a lot of information in those too. And we really appreciate that, because I think it guides the process. It gives us the ability to take a look at what concerns people have had. And it also gives us the opportunity long before the construction phases to take into consideration changes to the project. So I think the process is a good process, and I really appreciate people weighing in on the 81 project. What we heard, I can tell you that I haven't read all 7,500 comments yet, and I'm still working on that, even though I choose to try to work on them over the weekends to look at some of the comments. So, but probably the most controversial issue that we heard was the roundabout. I will tell the people at MLK and adjacent to the elementary school there. And so we started looking at that over the summertime when we started getting,
I think you know my daughter.
Started getting information back from the public. We haven't fleshed out all the details related to that, but we are looking both north and south of the current location. DOT does really believe that a roundabout will serve a good transportation purpose to slow down traffic between those high speeds south of that area versus north of that area being slower speeds at 30 miles per hour. So we're working on that. Another topic that's been from the very get-go, it comes up all the time, is jobs. There's really a lot of behind the scenes jobs initiatives going on. We're working with our federal partners. We're working with the city, working with the Urban Jobs Task Force, the unions, and many others to try to do that part right. There's really more to come over the winter time related to that, but there's a huge opportunity when you take a look at well over 7.5 million hours of construction work on this project. It can employ people in the community, and we want to have some local hiring initiative as a part of the projects. So we have a number of things to do before we get to the FEIS. That will be early in 2022. There's a number of parallel things that are going on. Jim mentioned I think he mentioned the long range transportation plan that's coming out, and tip and step amendments that we will have to do. We have funding for the 81 project through the record of decision, but there's a lot of funding. The big funding for the construction is something that DOT will have to come back in front of this committee to put to vote to add the construction funding. So the long-range transportation plan will lead to that. We had incorporated that as an illustrative project. Now we're moving forward with utilizing that as a real tip type projects. There are some things that need to get worked out on the national stage, as Jim mentioned, with the transportation bill and some other things. So we don't have a clear picture, but we're hopeful that it's early in 2022 that we'll be coming back for that tips. So I think I'll stop there, Jim.
Thank you.
And answer any questions anybody may have.
I have a couple, Mark, just because from the planning committee update earlier in the month, some people had some follow-up questions. For clarification, the lack of a new transportation bill and or the infrastructure bill, if that stays on pause, that stops the I-81 project from moving forward. Is that correct?
Well, I wouldn't be that strong in answering it that way, Jim, just because we have lived through maintenance bills where Congress has extended transportation bills. I think the positive side of the new bill that the president and Congress is debating right now, we talked about $1.2 trillion in transportation, which really will fund a lot of things, not just highways and bridges, but it would fund transit and other forms of transportation. So we would certainly have more funding. New York State would have more funding to deal with if that gets passed. But we can't project that is going to happen before the end of the year. Hopefully it does, because I think DOT is committed to this project. DOT wants to move this project forward. Could there be some minor delays as a result of not having the funding? That's a possibility, but we're going to have to cross that bridge when we get to it. We're aligned to move forward, and the governor last year in the state of the budget had included $800 million as part of the state budget that was put together in April of this year to start the phase one next year. So some things need to play out between now and April 1st. Hopefully the feds put forth a large transportation bill that will be good for New York State, for the people on the phone, and all the states in the country, because we certainly need it.
Thank you. One other quick thing, Mark. I noticed that there was something in the New York State contract reporter out this week related to I-81, and looked like an RFQ for a preliminary analysis. Can you give a brief update as what you're fishing for there?
Yeah, so we have come out and said that we're going to break up phase one into 5 separate contracts. And some of those contracts will be done design build. Some of them will be done design bid build. And the process to initiate the process for the design build, they take about a year to get in place. And so what came out last Friday was the initiation of the first contract that we would do. It starts the gun to start having those conversations between the state of New York and contractors to bid it. Notice to proceeds would not be completed until around approximately about a year from now. So we just wanted to initiate the process to get it started.
Thank you. That's all I had. Thank you.
I got a quick question, Mark. Dave Boter here. Among your 7,000 comments or whatever that came in, I'm sure there were a number of comments, including some from my office, regarding mitigation measures that could be taken to help address some of the impacts of the I-81 project. For example, the bus rapid transit system that was in the SMTC study. Are you able at this point to start allocating or thinking about allocating some of the funds that you're going to have available for I-81 to those mitigation initiatives?
Well, the whole issue of mitigation has been one that it comes up a lot, David, and I did read your letter. Thank you for sending that in. And mitigation occurs in a lot of different fashions. The example that you used related to the bus rapid transit, DOT sees the benefits of the bus rapid transit. We actually funded the study, or at least a large portion of the study that led to that. So we see that as being beneficial. Specific to that example, the process, and maybe Jim can help me with what the dollar value need was on that. It's a little less than 100 million, but
Yeah, with inflation, yeah, probably between 60 and 80 million, I would think.
yeah. But something like that would have to compete on the transit side as part of the project. I think DOT is very supportive of that project. We would see that as having to compete, and maybe EJ can talk about whether or not Centro is planning on submitting that to FTA. This is also tied to that 1.2 trillion that I talked about. Their process for getting transit funding to buy buses to be able to implement those programs, compete at a little bit different. They kind of compete on their own application and merits. So they end up being competing against Chicago or Detroit or Los Angeles or whatever. So I think we look at all kinds of mitigations with businesses, residents, property owners, but that's something that needs to be formulated between now and the time we do get to construction. So I danced around that a lot, David. I know that, and I apologize for that. We just don't have a lot of that firmed up at this point in time.
Well, I'll keep raising it, Mark.
I do know, David.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions from Mark?
No? Thank you,
Alrighty,
Mark.
thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, so moving down the agenda, if we don't have any old business, then we will move on to new business. And the first item there is highway safety targets.
Yes, thank you. Mario, can you throw that table up on the screen? So as required by the FAST Act, the SMTC has the option to either adopt the performance measures and targets established by the state of New York or develop our own. The state adopted 2022 safety targets in August of 21, dealing with number of fatalities, rates of fatalities, number of serious injuries, rates of serious injuries, and number of non-motorized fatalities and non-motorized serious injuries. The SMTC is recommending that we adopt the New York State DOT safety performance measure targets rather than develop our own, as has been the custom up to date and throughout the state of New York at all the NPOs. So we're looking at the policy committee adopt the 2022 safety target performance measure, 2022 safety performance measure targets. It is a requirement that we have to do. So, any questions on them? Otherwise, a vote would be appreciated.
Okay, no questions or concerns on that? And if not, then I will take a motion to approve the highway safety targets.
I'll move it.
So moved by,
I'll second Moses.
second by EJ Moses. Okay, any discussion? No, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any objections? Abstentions? All right, we're good.
Awesome.
All right, next on the agenda is tip amendments.
Yep, we have two tip amendments. They're both for New York State DOT. The first is I-81 over Oneida River, New York State Barge Canal Bridge Rehabilitation. New York State DOT is proposing to add a new $12,800,000 project to the tip to address girder deterioration. Offsets are being provided by the Onondaga Lake Parkway and state dedicated funds projects. The second project is also New York State DOT. It's an award of $125,000 from the Federal Highway Administration on Sharing Transportation Industry Career Pathways, or STIC. This project will consist of engaging with partners, professional and educational communities to create and curate expose students to careers in the transportation industry. I think this is relevant to what Mark was talking about before, starting to get the ball rolling to increase local employment opportunities related to our forthcoming multi-billion-dollar project. So that's what those two are. In relationship to the first one, I just want to make sure we point out to everybody that what we're approving today is the first phases of that $12,800,000 project. The future phases for that project, while they're indicated now as SDF, which stands for State Dedicated Funds, the expectation is those state dedicated funds would be swapped out when we do the TIP update for federal highway funds, which should happen sometime in the next year when we do our new solicitation for federal transportation projects. Therefore, by adding this project to the TIP now, we're kind of guaranteeing it funding later on for the next phases of it.
Okay. Any questions on that? So Jim, do I need to make a motion to do these separately, the TIP amendments?
Nope, you can do a motion. You can do them all together.
Okay. All right. So if there's no questions or concerns, then I'll take a motion to approve the TIP amendments as proposed.
So move it, EJ Moses.
Thank you. Thank you, EJ. That was tense for a minute. Okay. Second?
Second it.
All right. Votar, second. Any objections or any discussion? I'm sorry. No? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve? I already did. Can I just say, sorry, lost track there. All right. All in favor, say aye.
How you doing?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any objections, abstentions? Great.
All right.
So moved. All right. All approved. Next on the agenda is the SMTC portfolio story map.
Yeah, this will be a quick little presentation here. This is an informational item only. The SMTC has created several new interactive mapping applications involving our work products. So it's a portfolio map, a project location, environmental considerations map, as well as ITS devices in our community, as well as environmental justice maps. These tools will be useful for member agencies and the public in general to see what we've done here at the SMTC and how this data and items can leverage the use in the community. It's a very brief 5-minute presentation Jason DeShays put together just to let everyone know what's going on. Mario, can you play that?
Hello, this is Jason DeShays, Senior Transportation Analyst with the SMTC. Today, I would like to introduce you to 4 new interactive web mapping applications. These applications are accessible from our website. Go to smtcmpo.org and in the navigation bar, choose Data and Interactive Maps, or scroll to the bottom of the page and select the Interactive Maps icon. This page highlights all of the interactive maps and apps we have published for public use. Today, I will be showing the most recent additions. First, I would like to show you the SMTC Work Products Portfolio Story Map. If you are not familiar, story maps are a combination of maps, and narrative text, images, and other content. This story map is based on our Work Products Portfolio document that you may be familiar with, which is available for download on our website. The portfolio contains an overview of some of the UPWP projects that the agency has completed since 2007. After a brief introduction, you'll start navigating through each of the 5 project type sections as listed in the top navigation bar. Each section includes an introduction, a general project location map, and descriptions for each of the projects. As an example, let's go to the Corridors Study section, then find the Clay 3 Rivers Access Study from 2011. Click on the project description to expand the description to reveal more information as well as document download link. As you scroll down through all the other projects in that section, the map will zoom to that project study area. Finally, the last section of the story map contains additional resources, including links to download our static map products, such as the Central System Map and Onondaga County Highway Map, as well as a link to download the PDF version of the portfolio as previously mentioned. Next, I would like to introduce you to the SMTC Project Locations and Environmental Considerations Map. This map was developed based on a suggestion from FHWA. The map is intended to allow the user to do further environmental analysis for a project study area. When you first open this map, you'll get a disclaimer and additional information box, which includes links to various DEC resources, including their environmental assessment form mapper. By default, all available SMTC project study areas are displayed. Go to the interactive legend on the right side of the map to turn on and off study areas of your choice. Again, let's use the Clay Three Rivers Axis study as an example. Select it from the legend and choose Zoom to. Open the layers list on the left side to access the environmental layers. From here, you can turn on and off any of the included layers. There are many layers to choose from, including flood hazard areas, wetlands, and soils. Click on the map for information about each active layer. In this case, soil types. Next, let's take a quick look at the Intelligent Transportation System, or ITS, devices map. This is a basic interactive map that includes the location of traffic signals, traffic cameras, and variable message signs within our planning area. You can toggle between individual device types using the interactive legend on the right. The number you see in this legend represents the total number of that device type. For instance, there's 663 three-color signals in our planning area. Finally, let's review the Environmental Justice Mapper. As noted in the pop-up window, the data shown in this application is from the 2020 census as well as the 5-year American Community Surveys. The purpose of this map is to identify environmental justice areas and to show selected demographic variables for the population of our planning area. As an example, you may want to explore environmental justice areas as well as median household income by tract. Or you may want to look at percentage of zero vehicle households. Use the info button in the top left corner for more information about the map and the included layers. That is all I have time for today. I encourage you to check out our growing list of interactive maps, and we welcome any feedback you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Again, that's just an informational item. We want to give you an idea of some of the stuff that we've been able to do to make our data sets more transparent and available to the general public. Hopefully this does that a little bit, and also to our member agencies. All that data is available to you folks as well. Jason's on the line here in case you have any questions on any of the stuff that might be available out there. Otherwise, that's all we have for everybody today.
Any questions or comments for Jason? I'll just add mine that that's really impressive. That's really great information and looks easily, very user-friendly for folks like me. So great job.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Anything else on the story map? No? Okay, well, thank you, Jason. So then I will take a motion to approve the SMTC portfolio story map.
No, don't need to.
No?
That's just an information item.
I had that on my notes. I was gonna, tell Brian I did a really great job. Okay, you know what? I had that on my notes and I did it anyway. I'm just so eager to call motions. Okay, so great job, Jason. Next on the agenda is the time in the meeting for public comment. I don't know if we have anybody on the line.
Yep, we have about a 30-second delay. We're live streaming to YouTube, so I have to ask Andrew Fraser to, we have to wait 30 seconds while we see if anything comes in off the YouTube channel.
Okay.
I don't think we're getting any comments. But
That's perfectly fine.
Thank you for reaching out.
All right. So our live stream is as active as ever. So
Well, hello
Please.
to all those out watching. Just because you don't offer a public comment doesn't mean you're not out there, and we don't appreciate you tuning in. Okay, well, I guess if that's it, Jim, then I guess I'll take a motion to adjourn, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
So
motion
moved.
to adjourn,
Smith.
David Smith, second from Dave Botard. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any objections? No? Great, then motion is approved. It is 1:42 and our meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Dave and Corey, please look out for an email from Mario for things to sign for today's meeting for the safety performance measures and the tip amendments. Thank you very much.
Will do. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.